Hello, English learners. If you're watching this, you're probably on a mission to speak English fluently. Not just read it or write it, but to think in it. And if that sounds impossible right now, don't worry. Because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how to stop translating in your head and start thinking naturally in English. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself knowing all the right words, but when it's time to speak, your brain just freezes, or worse? It tries to translate everything from your native language, word by word, and it feels slow, awkward, and frustrating. That's because speaking fluently isn't just about knowing vocabulary. It's about training your brain to think in a completely different system. And here's the truth. The biggest mistake most learners make is they keep learning English as a translation of their native language, instead of letting it become its own language in their mind. In this video, we're going to change that. I'm going to show you how to think in English without translating, using real-life, everyday methods that work. You won't need a classroom, a textbook, or even a native speaker around you. What you will need is just you, your brain, and a willingness to practice in a whole new way. We'll break down what's happening in your brain when you translate, how kids learn language without needing to translate at all, and I'll walk you through 5 powerful steps to flip the switch in your brain so that English becomes the language you think in naturally, effortlessly. And don't worry, these aren't vague tips like just immerse yourself. I'm giving you real strategies you can use today, right after you finish watching. Whether you're brushing your teeth, walking to school, or cooking dinner, you'll know exactly how to practice thinking in English in those moments. So stick around, because by the end you won't just know what to do, you'll be ready to actually start doing it. And once you do, fluency starts to feel less like a goal and more like your new normal. Let's begin. Why you translate in your head. Let's get to the heart of the problem. Why do you translate in your head in the first place? It usually starts from the way we're taught languages. Most schools teach you English by comparing it to your native language. You learn that apple means manzana or palme or ringo. So from the very beginning, your brain gets wired to think, this word in my language equals that word in English. That creates a mental habit. And habits are hard to break. But here's the issue. Language is not just a list of word-by-word translations. It's a whole system of meaning, emotion, rhythm, and context. When you try to translate every sentence before speaking, you're forcing your brain to do extra work. It's like trying to write an essay with one hand while flipping through a dictionary with the other. That delay, that hesitation, that's your brain doing unnecessary translation work. This gets even more intense in real-life situations. Imagine you're at a coffee shop in New York and the barista asks, "Hey, what can I get started for you today?" If you've only ever practiced textbook English like, "I would like a cup of coffee," your brain might freeze. Why? Because you're trying to translate a fast, natural English sentence into your language, understand it, then form your reply and translate that back into English. By the time you're ready to speak, the line behind you is already giving you death stares. This is why you might feel confident reading or writing in English. But speaking? Total panic. That panic isn't because you're bad at languages. It's because your brain hasn't learned how to think in English yet. But here's the good news. Your brain is flexible. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, and it means your brain can literally rewire itself with enough consistent practice. You've already learned one language before, your native language. That means your brain already knows how to do it. You just need to activate those same learning pathways for English. One key idea that can help you understand this shift is something called direct association. That's when your brain connects English words directly to ideas or images, not to your native language. For example, instead of thinking dog, sorrow, perro, you see the word dog and immediately imagine a dog. No middle step, no translation. Just a direct link between the English word and the meaning. Now here's something interesting. This is exactly how children learn their first language. They don't memorize vocabulary lists or translate. They see, hear, feel, and connect. So, what if you could copy that same natural process as an adult? Let's think about how this habit of translation forms in the brain. Every time you see an English word and instantly think of your language equivalent, you're reinforcing a neural shortcut. English, native language, meaning. That's 2 steps. What we want to build instead is a direct route. English. Meaning, but just like any habit, the more you use the old path, the stronger it gets. And the less you use the new path, the weaker it remains. That's why breaking this habit takes effort, but it's also why it's possible. Another big reason you translate in your head is fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of sounding wrong. So you default to your native language where things feel safe and clear. But fluency doesn't come from safety. It comes from real-time thinking, from pushing through the moment where you don't have the exact words and learning to express the idea anyway. The last factor, a lack of confidence in your input. If you haven't listened to enough natural English, if you haven't heard how native speakers really talk, then your brain has nothing to copy. That's like trying to play music without ever hearing it. Translation fills the silence in your head because English hasn't taken root there yet. So here's the takeaway. Translation in your head is not a flaw in you. It's a result of your environment, your training, and your past methods. But you can train your brain out of it. You can flip the wiring, and the rest of this video is going to show you exactly how. How children learn without translating. Let's take a moment to look at how children learn their first language, because it holds the secret to fluency without translation. Think about a baby learning to speak. They don't carry around a dictionary. They don't ask, what does that mean in my native language? Because they don't have a native language yet. They're starting from scratch, and that gives them a major advantage. Every word they hear is tied directly to an experience, an object, a feeling. When a parent says apple and hands the child an apple, the connection is instant. Word, object, taste, fun. That's a multisensory experience. The child builds language from real life, not from language itself. The child doesn't even try to understand grammar at first. They just absorb it. They hear patterns. They repeat sounds. They copy tones. They make mistakes. And that's not just okay. It's necessary. It's part of the learning loop. Now here's the key insight. While adults can't go back and become babies, they can copy the process. That's the core of what you need to start doing if you want to stop translating. Children don't ask, how do I say this sentence in my language first? They go straight to expressing needs. Want milk? Go park? No nap? It's not perfect English, but it's real, emotional, instinctive. And the truth is, adult learners need to stop chasing perfection. You'll never stop translating. If you're always trying to build the perfect sentence in your head before speaking, children speak first, refine later. You should too. Another important point. Children are surrounded by language all the time. They're immersed in it. They hear it constantly from parents, siblings, cartoons, songs, and storybooks. Their brains are bombarded with input, not from formal lessons, but from living the language every day. Adults can create this same immersion, even if they're not in an English-speaking country. By listening to English podcasts while walking, watching YouTube without subtitles, reading simple books, and labeling objects around their home in English, adults can start to recreate that flood of input that kids naturally receive. And kids, don't judge themselves. This one's big. They're not worried about sounding silly. They don't think, did I get the grammar exactly right? They just communicate. They cry, they laugh, they shout. They use language with feeling. That emotional layer makes language stick. Adults, on the other hand, often block themselves with fear. What if I make a mistake? What if people laugh? That fear creates hesitation, and hesitation leads to translating. Because when you pause to check yourself, You slip back into the comfort of your first language. But here's what's ironic. Mistakes are the fastest way to grow. Every time a child says goed instead of went, they're learning, and they eventually figure it out, not through grammar lessons, but through repetition and correction. You have permission to do the same. One more secret about children. They repeat constantly. They hear a word like ball, and they'll say it 20 times in a day. That repetition, in context, creates deep memory connections. Adults tend to hear a word once and move on. But if you want to think in English like a native, you need to embrace obsessive repetition. Not just memorizing, but using the word repeatedly, in real thoughts, in real situations. So, what's the takeaway? Children aren't fluent because they're young and lucky. They're fluent because they're fearless, immersed, repetitive, emotional, and instinctive. You can't go back in time, but you can borrow their methods. The key is to stop obsessing over rules and start connecting with the language the way kids do, through living it, not just studying it. Build vocabulary the right way. Let's start. Your transformation with one of the most practical and powerful steps. Building vocabulary the right way, the way that leads directly to thinking in English. Most learners try to build vocabulary with lists. You've probably done it before. English word on one side, translation on the other. Maybe you highlight the page, read it again and again, and hope it sticks. Sometimes it does, for a test. But when it's time to speak or think quickly, those words disappear. Why? Because they weren't connected to meaning, they were connected to translation. So here's the first big shift. You need to stop learning English words through your language and start learning them through your life. Let's take a simple word like cup. Instead of memorizing cup sour taza, look at a real cup in your hand. Say cup out loud. Say it 5 times. Imagine using it. Drink from it. Say, this is my cup. I like this cup. The cup is hot. Now you're not just memorizing, you're internalizing. You're connecting the word directly to an object, to actions and to emotions. And that's how you start thinking in English, by tying words to experiences, not translations. Another tool, use images. When you learn new words, search for pictures, not definitions. The more visual the connection, the faster your brain remembers it. For example, if you're learning the word storm, don't just write the meaning. Look up videos of lightning. Feel the word. Describe it out loud. It's raining. It's loud. I'm scared. It's a storm. This emotional layer makes the word real in your mind. Let's go deeper. Create mini stories around new words. Say you learn window. Don't stop there. Make a little scene. I looked out the window. It was snowing. I saw a dog running. I opened the window. It was cold. That's 5 English sentences connected to one word, all built without a single translation. That's how vocabulary becomes thinking material. You're no longer translating. You're building scenes, thoughts, and associations directly in English. And that's the key to fluency. Now let's talk about frequency. Not all words are created equal. You don't need to know every word in the dictionary to think in English. You need the right words. Focus on high-frequency vocabulary, words used in daily life. These include verbs like go, get, have, want, and nouns, like food, a friend, place, time. These are the building blocks of 80% of real conversation. Mastering them gives your brain what it needs to function in English. So how do you practice them? Start labeling things around your home, your mirror, your fridge, your shoes. Label them with sticky notes in English. Every time you touch or see them, say the word. This is exactly what toddlers experience. They point at something, a parent, says the word, and the brain connects the dots. Another trick? Talk to yourself, all the time, in your mind or out loud. As you walk, describe what you see. Big tree, red car, girl is running. It might feel weird at first, but it's powerful. You're using vocabulary and context, and training your brain to speak in real time. Flashcards can still help, but only if you use them the right way. Don't write translations. Instead, write images or questions. One side, a picture of a sandwich. Other side, what is this? Or, do you want a sandwich? This way, you're triggering English to thought, not English to translation. You can also group vocabulary into themes. For example, food, shopping, emotions, travel. Then practice speaking only in that theme for 5 minutes. I like bananas. I eat lunch at 1 p.m. I'm hungry now. This builds confidence and speeds up your reaction time in English conversations. Most importantly, use the words. If you learn 10 new words but never use them, they vanish. But if you use them in a real conversation or repeat them out loud or write a diary entry with them, they become part of you. So to wrap this step up, stop learning isolated words with translations. Start learning words the way children do, in context, through visuals, through repetition, through emotion, and through usage. Don't memorize lists. Build connections. Step 2, use thought training exercises. Now that you're learning vocabulary the right way, let's take things deeper. This next step is the game changer, training your brain to think in English using thought training exercises. If your goal is to think in English without translating, then you have to stop waiting until you speak to use English. Your thoughts, the ones you have when no one is around, are where real fluency begins. Let's start with the simplest form of thought, training, naming things around you. You're in your kitchen. Instead of just seeing a table, name it in English. Say table. See your mug, say cup. You're not translating, you're labeling. It's quick, it's simple, and it's powerful. The more you do this, the more your brain starts connecting English directly to the world around you. No translation needed. The second technique is silent speech, also called inner dialogue. It's exactly what it sounds like. You speak to yourself in your head in English. Try this. As you walk or go about your day, narrate your actions in your mind. I'm opening the window. It's cold outside. I need my jacket. These aren't fancy sentences, but they're natural, and most importantly, they're real thoughts in real time. This is how you shift your brain from translation mode to English mode. You're practicing fluency in the one place you always have access to, your own thoughts. Another powerful method? Visualization. Close your eyes and imagine a scene. Maybe you're in a restaurant. Picture the waiter. Hear them ask, "What would you like to drink?" Visualize yourself replying, "Can I have some water, please?" Then imagine the taste, the smell, the sounds around you. What you're doing here is rehearsing real-life English situations without anyone there. And your brain treats imagination like real experience. That's why athletes use visualization to train. You can too. You can also try automatic response training. Ask yourself common questions, out loud or in your mind, and answer them immediately. For example, what's your favorite food? Where do you live? What did you do today? Answer in English quickly, even if your sentence isn't perfect. Don't pause. Don't overthink. Just respond. This helps break the wait, translate, speak habit and replaces it with hear, think, speak. If you struggle at first, that's normal. Your brain is used to filtering everything through your first language, but with repetition, it gets easier. One day, you'll hear a question and the answer will just come, in English, without translation. Here's another fun method: question loops. Ask yourself a question and answer it. Then create a follow-up question based on your own answer. Like this. What do I usually eat for breakfast? I usually eat toast and eggs. Why do I eat that? Because it's quick and filling. Do I like it? Sometimes I prefer pancakes. Now you're building a full train of thought all in English just by keeping the conversation going inside your mind. Want to challenge yourself even more? Try describing emotions as they happen. Feel nervous? Say, I feel nervous. Don't? Know the word? Describe it. My heart is beating fast. I'm worried. This builds emotional vocabulary, which is a huge part of fluency that textbooks often ignore. Now let's talk about consistency. Thought training exercises don't need to take hours. You can do them in 1-minute bursts. Waiting in line, think in English. Brushing your teeth? Narrate the process. Lying in bed before sleep? Visualize your day in English. Your brain is constantly thinking. The only question is, what language is it thinking in? The more English you insert into those thinking moments, the faster you build fluency. Finally, don't be afraid to mix speaking with thinking. Say your thoughts out loud when you can. Whisper them if you're shy. The act of turning thoughts into words makes the mental connection even stronger. Let's wrap up this step. Fluency doesn't start when you speak. It starts when you think. So stop waiting for conversations and start training your thoughts. Speak to yourself. Imagine, react, describe, respond in English. Quietly or out loud, it all counts. Step 3. Create an English-only mental environment. If you want to think in English, you need to make English the default language of your daily life, especially in your brain. This brings us to the third key step. Create an English-only mental environment, even if you're surrounded by people who don't speak a word of it. This is not about moving to an English-speaking country. It's about taking control of your surroundings, what you see, hear, read, and think, and switching those channels to English. You're essentially living in English no matter where you are. Let's start with input control. Input is everything your brain consumes, what you watch, what you listen to, what you read. And right now, a big chunk of that is probably in your native language. That's okay. But it also means your brain is constantly practicing thinking in that language. To make the switch, you need to flood your brain with English content. Not just sometimes, constantly. Start with your phone. Change the system language to English. This might seem minor, but it's not. Every time you open an app, check the time, or type a message, your brain will start associating English words with everyday actions. This adds hundreds of little moments of English thinking to your day, without even studying. Next, focus on audio. What are you listening to during downtime? While commuting, cooking, exercising? Replace music or talk shows in your native language with English podcasts, audiobooks, or YouTube videos. Even if you only understand 60%, that's okay. You're still training your brain to interpret sounds, accents, and rhythm without translation. When you hear English daily, your brain starts to normalize it. You'll start recognizing sentence patterns. Phrases will start sticking in your head. You'll find yourself thinking, wait, I've heard that before. And eventually, you'll use it. Now let's talk about reading. Switch your reading materials to English. Start with what you enjoy. Love sports? Read English articles about football. Into fashion? Follow English-speaking style bloggers. Read things you want to read, not just what a textbook tells you to read. Because the more emotionally connected you are to content, the easier it is to remember and reuse the language. And don't stop at articles. Read English subtitles when you watch shows. Watch English YouTube creators. Follow Instagram pages that post in English. The goal is to create a digital world around you that's rich in English. Over time, your brain will stop switching into English and just stay there. Now here's a clever trick. Make English your default search language. When you Google something, do it in English. Need to fix a tech problem? Search it in English. Looking for recipes? English. This gives you real-world practical language that's full of useful vocabulary and sentence structure. You're not just learning, you're living in the language. Another method, write your to-do list in English. Your grocery list, your journal, your notes. Every time you make English the medium for your everyday thoughts, you're telling your brain, this is the language we operate in now. Also, use digital assistants like Siri or Alexa in English. Ask questions, give commands. Let English become the language of control in your life. And let's not forget about social media. Unfollow some accounts in your native language and follow English-speaking creators instead. This way, even your scrolling time becomes input practice. Plus, you'll learn how real people actually use English in casual modern ways, full of idioms, slang, humor, and culture. Here's one more powerful tool. Immerse your brain with passive input while multitasking. Leave an English podcast playing in the background while you clean, cook, or organize your space. You don't have to fully focus on it. Just let your subconscious absorb the rhythm and flow of English. You'll be surprised how much your brain remembers. Now let's address a common concern. But I live in a country where no one speaks English. How can I practice? Here's the truth. Input shapes output. The more English you consume, the more English your brain will naturally produce. You don't need other people. You need consistency. You can always talk to yourself, think in English, write in English, or use AI tools or language apps to practice. The world is full of English. You just need to tune in. Finally, let's talk mindset. Creating an English-only environment isn't about being perfect. It's about surrounding yourself with the language so much that English becomes familiar, not foreign. It's about reducing friction, making English your comfort zone. Because the more often your brain hears and sees English, the more it relaxes. And that relaxation is what allows fluency to grow. So let's review. Flood your life with English input: audio, visual, written, and digital. Switch your devices, your media, and your daily habits. Make your brain live in English. The more you immerse, the less you translate. Step 4. Practice reacting in English. You've learned the vocabulary. You've started thinking in English. You've built a world around you that runs in English. Now, it's time to get fast. To practice reacting in English without thinking. Twice. Fluency is more than knowing words. It's about being able to respond in real time. It's that ability to hear something, process it, and say something back, all in English, without translating or hesitating. But here's the challenge. Most English learners train in slow motion. You study grammar, memorize vocabulary, maybe even speak in class. But when someone talks to you on the street or during a meeting, you freeze. Why? Because your brain hasn't been trained to react under pressure. So how do you fix that? By using active reaction drills. Let's start with shadowing. This is a technique used by professional interpreters and language learners. It works like this. You listen to a native speaker say something, and you repeat it at the same time, like an echo. The goal isn't to understand every word, but to train your mouth and brain to keep up with natural speech. Find a video clip or podcast. Hit play. Start repeating. At first, it will feel impossible, but after a few minutes, something changes. Your brain begins to anticipate the sounds. Your tongue starts to move faster. You feel yourself flowing with the rhythm. That's fluency. Training in action. Now let's level up with rapid Q&A drills. Set a timer for 60 seconds. Ask yourself quick questions and answer them immediately with no pause. For example, what's your favorite color? Blue. What did you eat today? Eggs and toast. What's your dream city to visit? Tokyo. You can also use flashcards or apps that quiz you with common questions. The key is speed, not perfection. Don't worry if your grammar isn't 100%, just get the idea out. This rewires your brain to focus on communication, not translation. Next, practice instant description. Look around you, pick any object, and describe it in English, on the spot. I see a tall plant. It has green leaves. It's in a brown pot. You can do this with people too. She is wearing glasses, he is smiling, they are talking. This trains your brain to form sentences on demand. Another great method is role play, even if you're alone. Imagine you're at the airport. Pretend you're talking to the airline staff. Say, "Hello, where's the check-in counter? Can I see your passport? Here it is. Do you have any luggage? Just this bag." Act it out. Say both parts. Add emotion. Change your voice, make it fun. You're not just practicing English. You're training your brain to react to common situations with confidence. Don't stop there. Create imaginary conversations. Pretend you're ordering food, booking a hotel, returning an item at a store. The more scenes you create, the more flexible your English reactions become. This is what actors do. And it works. Let's talk about another powerful drill, the 5-second rule. Give yourself only 5 seconds to respond to any question or situation. No thinking, no hesitation. Why 5 seconds? Because that's how real life works. In real conversations, you don't get a minute to plan. You get moments. So, train in moments. You can also try reaction games. Watch an English interview. After every question the host asks, pause the video. Try to answer the question yourself before the guest does. Then hit play, listen, and compare. This is fun, immersive, and sharpens your spontaneous speaking ability. And don't underestimate the power of reaction journaling. Every night, write a short journal entry about your day. But write it fast. Don't stop to fix grammar. Just get your thoughts down in English as quickly as possible. Over time, this trains your brain to organize ideas in English without delay. Now let's talk about energy. When practicing reactions, bring emotion. Don't speak like a robot. Use real tone. Add excitement, frustration, surprise, whatever fits the moment. Emotion makes words stick and activates deeper memory. When you say, "Oh no, I forgot my phone," with real feeling, it burns into your brain in a way no vocabulary list ever could. And don't worry if you don't know the perfect word. React anyway. Use gestures. Use simpler words. Describe the idea. That's what fluent people do in their native language too. Remember, the goal isn't to sound perfect. It's to sound alive in English. If you're brave, record yourself. Then watch or listen back. At first it'll feel weird, but soon you'll start noticing your strengths and what you can improve. You'll hear hesitation spots, pronunciation errors, and even see your own confidence grow over time. Here's a bonus. Find online communities or apps where you can speak to others. Language exchange apps, English chat groups, AI tutors. Even 5 minutes a day helps. But the real goal isn't conversation, it's reaction. The more your brain practices reacting in English, the more fluency becomes your natural state. So let's sum it up. Don't wait to speak perfect English. Train your brain to respond. Shadow, role play, rapid fire, react with feeling, speak even when you're unsure, and do it daily. Every second you practice this, your translation habit gets weaker, and your fluency grows stronger. Step 5. Storytelling and emotional recall. If you want to think in English without translating, you need to go beyond vocabulary and grammar. You need to make English personal. The deeper the emotional connection you build with a language, the easier it becomes to think in it naturally. That's where storytelling and emotional recall come in. Let's start with this idea. Your most powerful memories aren't in a textbook. They're in your own life. Every person has stories. Funny ones, sad ones, exciting ones, embarrassing ones. And when you tell those stories in English, your brain stops relying on translation. Why? Because you're not memorizing anything. You're reliving something. Here's how it works. Pick a memory. Maybe your first day of school, a family celebration, a vacation, a time you got lost, something real with emotion. Now try to tell that story in English. Don't write it, just talk. It's okay if you don't know every word. Describe around it. Use your hands, use simple language. I was nervous. I didn't know what to say. My hands were shaking. That's fluency training with feeling. This technique is called emotional recall, and it works because emotion makes language stick. When you connect English to real memories, those English words become part of your emotional vocabulary. They're no longer just words, they become experiences. And here's the secret. When you feel something in English, you stop translating. You don't have time to go back to your native language. Your brain is too busy feeling the moment. You can also use story loops to practice. Start a story in English. Last weekend, I went to the beach. Then build from there. It was hot. I forgot sunscreen. I saw dolphins. I dropped my phone in the sand. Keep going. Add detail. Add emotion. Don't worry about mistakes. The goal is to keep the story alive. If you get stuck, ask yourself questions to continue. Who were you with? What happened next? How did you feel? What surprised you? These questions pull more English out of you and force your brain to stay in the language. Another fun way to use storytelling: retell movie scenes or YouTube videos you watched, but in your own words. Okay, so there was this guy, and he gets lost in the city, and then you're using your memory plus imagination plus English all at once. You can also describe dreams, real or made up. I had a dream I was flying. I saw the ocean. It was amazing. Dreams don't have to make sense. They just give you a reason to form ideas and sentences on the fly. Want to take it further? Try daily story reflection. At the end of each day, ask yourself in English, what happened today? Then tell the story out loud. I woke up late, I missed the bus, my boss was angry, but I had a great sandwich at lunch. This daily habit helps you tie language to real-life emotions and events. And don't forget to act out your stories. If you were scared in the memory, sound scared. If you were excited, raise your voice. Emotion makes the story memorable, and it also makes your brain take English more seriously. You're not just building fluency, you're building your voice in English, your stories, your feelings, your experiences. This is what makes English feel like your language, not just a school subject. So to recap this step, use your past, your emotions, your experiences. Talk about your life. Retell real moments. Reflect on your day. Tell jokes. Make up stories. Feel things in English. The more emotion you attach to the language, the more fluently your brain will think in it. No translation required. You've just taken a massive step toward real fluency, the kind that doesn't live in textbooks, but in your thoughts. You've learned how to break the translation habit, how to train your brain to think in English naturally, and how to use daily life as your personal fluency coach. Let's recap the journey. First, you learned why you translate in your head. It's not your fault. It's how you were taught, through word lists, translation exercises, and grammar first approaches. But that method builds a habit of dependency, not fluency. Then we explored how children learn without translating, through real experiences, immersion, repetition, and fearless communication. And you discovered how to copy their natural learning methods as an adult. You mastered vocabulary training, not by memorizing lists, but by connecting words to objects, emotions, and real-life moments. You now know how to build mental scenes that turn vocabulary into thinking material. You trained your inner voice with thought exercises like silent speech, object labeling, and visual storytelling, all helping you to rewire your brain so that English becomes your natural mode of thought. You built an English-only environment in your world, your phone, your podcasts, your YouTube feed, even your grocery list, until English became your default input and output. You practiced reacting in English, quickly, naturally, emotionally, by using shadowing, role-play, flash Q&As, and the 5-second rule. You discovered how to respond, not just rehearse. And finally, you tapped into the emotional power of storytelling, connecting your memories, feelings, and identity to English so it becomes more than a subject. It becomes yours. So, now what? Now comes the most important part, doing it, because watching a video, even this one, won't change your life. But the actions you take after this video will. So here's your challenge, the 7-day English Thinking Challenge. For the next 7 days, commit to doing these 5 actions every day, no matter what. Think in English for at least 10 minutes daily. Use silent speech. Narrate your life. Describe what you see. Speak out loud for 5 minutes, even if you're alone. Use a mirror or record yourself. Practice reacting fast. Change your input. 1 new podcast, YouTube channel, or book in. English. Immerse yourself. Label your world. Pick 5 new objects each day and say their names and actions in English. Tell a story. It can be from your past, your imagination, or your day. But tell it in English out loud. That's it. Do this for 7 days. Write down what you notice. Pay attention to how your brain starts reaching for English automatically, how you pause less, how you speak faster, how you feel more fluent. Then, come back to this video. Leave a comment. Tell us what changed, because your story will inspire someone else to begin. Remember this. Fluency isn't a gift. It's a habit, and that habit starts now. You don't need to move abroad. You don't need to wait until you're ready. You're ready today. All you need is your brain, your voice, and your willingness to practice with intention. English fluency is not just about speaking. It's about thinking, feeling, and living in English. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, and it happens faster than you think, especially when you stop waiting for permission and start building your fluency from the inside out. So if this video helped you understand how to rewire your brain for fluency, if it gave you tools you can actually use, then do 3 things. Like this video. It helps more learners find it. Subscribe to the channel. We release videos just like this every week to help you stay motivated, confident, and fluent. And share it with someone you know who's struggling to speak English without translating. This could be the breakthrough they need. Your fluency journey is just getting started. And the best part? You're no longer learning English. You're living in it. Keep practicing. Keep thinking in English. And remember, you've got this. I'll see you in the next video.